time. Something has got to happen because we can no longer go down the path that we're going down. This country won't last another 6 months. This country won't last another 12 months if something doesn't happen. So it's time to flip the switch. It's time to get involved. It's time to move the line forward. And if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So I don't care what flip the switch is. I don't care if that means that all of this nonsense is nonsense, or if some of it's true. All right. Man, I'm so excited tonight. I'm about to do a Ric Flair woo. I'm not kidding. Welcome, Warriors, World Patriots, my fellow Americans. My name is Mike. I'm the host of the Liberty Warrior. Give me liberty or give me death. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Today is hump day. It's Wednesday, March 16th, 2022. Hello, hello, hello. Buckle up, saddle up, put your tinfoil hats on. Here we go. We have got Mountain Man back with us, and he's got a lot to say, and I think it's very important that we pay attention tonight because what he's going to say and what he's going to tell us, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm feeling good. There is so many things happening. Like I said, I feel the switch. I feel the shift coming, and it's time to flip the flipping switch. So let's bring Mountain Man in. How you doing tonight, Mountain Man? You there, brother? Hello, Mountain Man. Well, he's here. He's here. He's in the room with us. So let's give him a minute to find his mic. Folks, we had a great pod bean today with Tammy Nation, Tammy the Hammer Nation, and myself. Just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to pay attention to. But I will tell you this: not for 1 second will I not continue to prep and be prepared for any situation that may happen between now and then. Or even after. So, supply chain issues we're still having. I'm concerned about food shortages. So my greenhouses showed up this week. Parents and I are getting ready to put those up and get our starters planted so we can have our garden. We're actually going to have a family community garden this year. So my aunt, her husband, my cousin, my two brothers, they're all pitching in for our community garden. And as always, if you can afford it, I would definitely put a little silver in your pocket if you can for what you can't afford. If you can't afford a lot, go to the local pawn shop. Find a couple of coins if you can. Get it wherever you can. But if you really want to be helped by the professionals, you can go to info@milesfranklin.com. Code word Liberty Warrior Nation, and they'll help you out there. So the other thing that I did too with all this going on is I created LWN Flip the Switch. That is a place that you can go and we can give you information on how to quit purchasing items from Walmart and start buying from American made companies right here in the good old US of A. 97% of what they sell is manufactured right here in the United States. Let's try Mountain Man one more time here. I had him pre-show, and I don't understand why his mic is not working. You there, Mountain Man? Hello, Mountain Man. Let me see if I boot him out if he comes back in real quick if he's got a mic. All right, we'll let him hop back in here with us. I don't know what the technical difficulty is. Like I said, he had a mic just fine before the show, so I don't know what he's playing with back behind stage. But we'll get him back up here in just a minute, and we'll try her again. You there, Mountain Man? I don't know if you did something when you linked your channel, but we cannot hear you at all. So you might have to jump out and come back in again. I don't know what's going on. I can't help you. I can't see anything. We had sound just fine before the show. So whatever you did between now and then didn't help the situation. But folks, had lots of good conversations this morning with some of my close friends, and we were really just trying to take a look at the full picture of what's going on. Monkey Works is putting out information, and I always think that Monkey Works puts out great information. To be honest with you, I heard that Europe is DEFCON 2 right now. I still haven't been able to confirm that or deny it, but I would say that that's probably a pretty true statement. I mean, with everything that's going on over there between Russia and Ukraine, I would say Europe being so close would be DEFCON 2. I think we're still at pretty much normal here in America, but what is not normal
now?
There we go, Mountain Man. I can hear you. What's not normal is there are a lot of tankers up over the United States. A lot of tankers, which is tied to a lot of fighters. Now, I said earlier today in the show that's pretty normal too. I would say with what's going on in our world and all the threats that are possible out there. So it's just it's a little alarming to know that that's the stage we're at right now. Is just it's kind of like we're posturing up for maybe defense. I wouldn't call it offense. It seems like we're being more defensive than anything, but just things that you really need to pay attention to. So, Mountain Man, welcome back. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing good too.
Oh, I'm fabulous. It's a pleasure to have you back here on the show. I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper into 11.3 and the other information that you have, and some more that I want to put in here. I'm going to go ahead and just open us in prayer, sir, and then I'm going to just turn the floor over to you and let you get started.
Okie dokie.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you this evening, Lord. Thank you for the many blessings. Thank you for the opportunity that we all have to join together and just have a great conversation about a lot of different situations, a lot of information that is put out. Lord, just give us the wisdom for discernment, Lord. Help each and every person in the chat and in the show tonight watching have a great evening, a lot of fun and good attitudes. And Lord, we just pray a hedge of protection around Mountain Man and I and all the panelists and the callers that call in tonight. And we thank you for all of this in your son's precious name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, brother, it's all yours. Where are we starting tonight?
Well, I tell you, you were bringing up tankers in the air. I suspect you were talking about our friend Monkey Works.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, well, that brought back some memories. Um, if you remember 11.3, everybody got started on that because they thought it was an election day, right?
Mm-hmm.
At first, they thought it was election day. Was 11.3, correct?
Yes, sir.
Uh, that came and went, and everybody. I was watching Monkey Works. Everybody was watching Monkey Works, and he was talking about another plane that was a second plane that's used for Air Force One. They call it the Doomsday plane, and it was making some strange travels there, and everybody was bristled up thinking Trump was going to do something, and he may very well have been. Yeah, I can't replay the stream of Monkey Works. He's put, he's gotten kind of tight on using his content. I guess we can refer to it without penalty, but he was talking that it looked like there was a second Doomsday plane or Air Force One that went from Mar-a-Lago back to D.C. And his assumption at the time that it may have been the man himself coming back to take care of business at that time, but he was advised that the national mood and the amount of people that were awake was not going to make it a civil event, as civil as they want it to be. So that's the presumption. Then everybody started focusing on 11.3 laws of war. And a misconception went out there that we had to wait a year, and after the year passed by, that then the military was allowed to take action. Now, I could see, and I talked about it on other streams, I talked briefly with you about it, that I could see where people would think that having a cursory reading of the 11.3 laws of war. But it refers to a 12-month timeline, as I mentioned before, concerning implementation of the Geneva Conventions. It's internationally recognized that a year after the cessation of hostilities, by a surrender, total defeat, or whatever, it's all over. But the shouting, all the fighting and military operations are over, that the laws of war and Geneva Conventions, GC, it says for a 12-month period, the GC shall apply, and after 12 months, the GC shall no longer apply. And GC, I saw in some comments, people were saying, what does GC mean? What does it mean? It means Geneva Conventions. That once a war is over, You apply the Geneva Conventions for a year, at least 1 year, and longer for prisoners of war or anybody in your custody, care and control after the war is over, until they're let free or tried or serving a sentence. If you remember, Manuel Noriega insisted that he be treated in accordance with Geneva Conventions when George Bush Sr. went there and got him out of Panama. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yes, I do.
But, yeah. So that got everybody excited very much. I was, and mostly am now, a YouTube consumer, a social media consumer.
Mhm.
And I read the Geneva Conventions, and I saw that it says GC and what that abbreviation means. It does not mean you got to sit around for a year and wait while a belligerent occupier has your land before you can do anything. And I said in the past, there are no treaties, no laws, nothing that prevents a sovereign. In this case, a sovereign is the United States government under the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. The representative of that sovereign state can take military action at any time to reclaim land that is held by a belligerent. Now, we know that the days of World War I, trench warfare, World War II, Patton, and storming the town and things like that. War is now much more, I will say, sophisticated. It's not so much hand-to-hand combat, and not say it can't get that way, but we have, and Mr. T said 2 years ago, we're at war.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at war with an invisible enemy. He said it. And it is infiltration, not invasion, one facet. The other facet, it is a data and information war, where that has to do with propaganda, has to do with what our children are being taught, even what our I will put quotation marks, officials, but it really means government servants, what they're being taught is the way this country should work. If you can change those things around, if you can get people in positions of public trust to believe that what they're doing is right, and believe that there are certain parts of established law and the Constitution that are wrong, hey, you won a big battle in that war, and you didn't fire a shot.
Yeah.
So as far as a year timeline, that is from, and it's very clear, from the cessation of military operations. Well, all the things I mentioned, cyber war, propaganda, information war, infiltration into positions of public trust under the Constitution, all those things are wartime operations. All those are combat operations, not in the kinetic sense. It is in the special operations, I would call it. And so there is an ongoing conflict. First of all, if it were true that we could not go in the White House for a year, which is a ridiculous assumption, and I was very upset that that was being put forth. And I won't mention anybody's name because I don't need to give them more clicks and more recognition or whatever. But why that was, people got the feeling that after January 20th of this year, the you-know-what was going to hit the fan, and this and that. It may have been a marker. It may have been a marker for certain operations, but it certainly wasn't uh, dictated by the chapter and line of 11.3 that something could be done. So things can be done, have been being done all year, and are being done now. But the misconception was that that was a magic date for military operations, and I am saying that people that we know and we've listened to, and a lot of people have trusted, that should know better, that were in the armed forces, and I respect their service. But if, as I said in the past on Red's channel, if you're going to wear your service on your sleeve and say that you should be respected and believed because of your service, you better get it right. And if you don't know what you're talking about, then you need to clam up. So, and I have a habit of saying you when I talk, and I'm not speaking. I'm not speaking to you, Mike, and I'm not speaking to any particular listener, person in chats. And I found that if I go to check the chats, that does cause a problem with the mic. That's what happened. I was in the chats reading,
gotcha.
and I like to know who, say hello to people and things. But and I'm talking to people in chats that I really can't do that. I can read it on the side, but I can't really do anything without taking a chance of having to log out and log back in again. But that's the big picture of DOD 11.3. And as you know, I have a channel, and you sent some people my way. I did a video last night that I had a hard time getting it through, and a lot of the words I was saying got cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to touch on that because it has to do with 11.3. In the past, I have said 11.3 is a blanket thing. It does mean the election day. It does mean the loss of war. Because the hostile belligerent, the occupying belligerent, has to abide by the Geneva Convention, and while they're occupying their territory, our territory. Mm-hmm. And part of the Geneva Convention, what that covers, and I have to be careful about how I say it, but I reference some things as a serum, because I don't think anybody's using that term, but it's more accurately describes like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He took a serum,
Yeah.
And then he turned.
Can we pause for just a minute here, Mountain Man? Could we maybe go into some of these operations that you're talking about? You said that there's ongoing operations. Is there any that you care to maybe highlight a little bit?
Oh, there are numerous, and I can tell you, and a lot of people that have served can tell you too. Special forces is not just people running around in flak jackets with night vision on top of their helmet and grenades. No. Special forces can look like a big nerd, with high top pants and socks sticking out and sneakers and walking around with a computer and just knowing where to walk and who to talk to and knows what to do with that computer. Mm-hmm. And that could be his special operation. You never know. So the example I can tell of one operation that I think was successful was, well, we know that human rights abuses and crimes against humanity have been put under the purview by Donald Trump by executive order, have been put under the purview of the military. Am I correct in saying that?
I believe you are, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. It's under their purview, which means they can decide, okay, we're going to take care of this situation ourselves. with two parallel judicial systems in this country. One is the laws of war and military justice, and the doctrine of state secrets, which has been upheld by the Supreme Court. The second judicial system, which we're all familiar with, is our civilian system underneath the Supreme Court. Now, if it's under the military purview, they can say, all right, we're going to take this case. Or they can say, well, we'll monitor it, but we'll kick it over to the civilian part. And there was that Facebook executive. A lot of us saw and heard. Red did a short video on him. I helped him a little bit with the time points and editing. When you have somebody that engages in that type of behavior, where they want to meet with somebody that's a lot younger than them, they've done it in the past. They're in a position of power, not only in a big company, but a big company that contributed hundreds of millions of dollars to influence the last go round we had.
Yeah, well, I want to touch on that for just a minute. So he's talking about old sucker Berg and Facebook, and he's talking about, from what I understand, and I believe it fully, that there were meetings behind closed doors where they got together, and their plan was to put out propaganda this entire last cycle that ended November of 2020, and put out as much propaganda as they can, and an alliance with censorship, and we've all felt that censorship in one form or another, and it's just really something that I think will also, as the layer of the onion gets unfolded, will come out, and we'll see a lot more of it, and there'll be documentation on it and all kinds of stuff. And for those of you who can't see Mountain Man because he chooses to only have the audio, this is Mountain Man. For those of you who are just hopping in here, he's been on the show once before, and he's got a lot to say tonight. So yeah, that whole social media platform that you speak of, Mountain Man, I think eventually there's going to be a lot of stuff come to the surface, and that whole group's going to be in some major hot water.
Well, I was wanting to describe to you a white hat special operation that there was a high level executive for Facebook. I don't have his name right here on the top of my head, but I watched the video live, and the long and the short of it is, he was caught on a live stream trying to entice a 13-year-old to come to his room. And he was doing it over Facebook. And it just so happened the people that caught him and did the live stream confronting him, and he admitted everything on the live stream in his hotel room. The people that caught him were friends of a past victim. They actually put this victim on the phone with him. Also, his mother was in another state, was watching the live stream about him being confronted about these specific things he said in the chat that he wanted to do to this young boy. And there are no coincidences. And I can guarantee you that if his elderly mother was watching YouTube, somebody hit a little magic button and put that live stream up as a suggestion, and somebody put a bug in somebody's ear that was doing that operation that goes around and catches these types of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special operation. When
Yeah,
you can
very.
get a high-level executive admit on live stream YouTube to thousands of people that he was committing a crime against children, and have his mother watch it at the same time, and have him confronted by a past victim, that doesn't happen by accident. And it didn't happen by the people running that channel who are regular citizens, and they go around, they catch people like that. But you don't catch a big fish like that without some help, somebody that's got some intel, somebody that knows what they're doing on that computer and knows what he's been doing on that computer. So that's one example of an operation, a successful one, I might add, because he's been fired from Facebook. But you put that on top of Meta losing $230 billion, which I just finished discussing in my last live stream earlier tonight. $230 billion loss, which is almost $250 billion. You put up the fact that Russia is seeking criminal charges against Meta for the things that they're doing as far as calling for assassinations and calling for, actually breaking international law and the laws of war. And
Do you know what else Russia's seeking?
What's that?
They're seeking reparations from the United States for the sanctions put on them here in the last month or so. They're asking for the return of Alaska, and they're asking for the return of a fort somewhere, I think, towards Southern California, is what I got from Glenn Beck today. They want the United States to pay reparations for the financial hit that they took with these sanctions, and I mean it's just talk right now. Where's it going to go? What's going to happen with it? I don't know. Do I think America is going to give up Alaska? Probably not without a fight.
Well, that's where the old country sayings come in. Russia wants Alaska back. Well, people of hell want ice water.
Yep.
So bluster is one thing, bluster. And Trump himself said, while he was still in office, while he was still in the chair, he told Putin he would bomb Moscow. And now, was that a bluff or was that real? Well, it kept them from invading Ukraine, because Trump is big on settling it financially, settling it treaty-wise, anything war, unless you have to. And if you do it with a big hammer, a big red button.
Yeah. You go in to win. You don't go in to dance.
Right. You go for the knockout. I mean, it's like, touch gloves and whop, he hit the canvas. That's the way to short a fight. So anyway, my point in bringing up this Facebook executive being humiliated and removed from his job took coordination and took people with knowledge, and they maximized his exposure. I mean, when you have your mother watching you sitting in a chair in a hotel room like a child, and somebody telling you how perverted and sick you are and reading these kind of words back to you that you wrote to a 13-year-old, you can't get much more humiliated than that. Or criminally exposed. So, and under something that may very well put him in a position where his assets belong to the United States if he has, according to the executive order that calls for the seizure of assets of people who commit crimes against humanity, crimes against children. So his entire life. Now, when you're in a situation like that, they don't have to slap you around at you to talk and turn in other people. They got to slap you around to shut you up. You'll talk so much. When do birds sing? Oh, right about now, springtime. So it's little things like that that's going on all the time. You saw the two CNN executives, two of them, two producers
Mm-hmm.
that are in big, big trouble. They're looking at a lifetime in prison on multiple charges. And isn't that strange how that just came to light? And tape recordings of one of the producers describing to another person what he did to his own daughter. Then, 3 weeks later, Zuckerberg down, gone, because he was messing around with one of the other producers. Yeah, right. Okay, let's believe that. So those are continuing military operations that are special operations, covert, and you're punching back. I mean, they're going to do things and try to construct some kind of crime by Mr. T. Well, okay, let's just see what we can find out about you. Let's do our own digging. Let's do our own eavesdropping, but we'll do it legally, and we will catch you doing dirty deeds, and it's going to be exposed to the world. And if you didn't have Space Force involved and the military, it'd be very difficult to catch these creepos, because that is their business, is computers, information, and things like that. But they can't hide from Space Force. And if they're committing crimes that come under the purview of the military, they will be caught. They will face justice. And so there's some examples that I believe there were special operations involved in. D-class, when Donald Trump left office, I mean, within hours of him leaving office, he gave permission for things to be declassified, everything to be declassified at their discretion, as when it's the best time to do it.
When you talk about justice, Mountain Man, and I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of faith in the justice system when it comes to politicians. I just don't. But there was an article that I reported on today that the GOP is already planning, once they take 2022 back, and they now are the majority of both houses. They do plan on coming at the Biden administration legally with a committee, an oversight committee, and quote, they will hold Joe Biden accountable for everything that he has done. Now, do I believe that that's going to encompass all the politicians? God, I hope so, and I pray that that happens, and I pray that they do that, and I pray that everybody involved gets what they deserve. That's for sure.
Well, I can tell you this, that we're going down that road where we're going to try to prosecute or process certain, when we do things it's crime, when they do things it's an ethical lapse, so whatever their political doublespeak, they're going to go through that. But I can tell you this, 11.3, there's a lot of 11.3s, and I would encourage people, if they want, they want to dig, they want to learn, they want to find things out. There's a cottage industry, and some of these people we've been talking about who pumped up should have known better, but were pumping up their listeners to think that there was something going to happen on January 20th of a kinetic, physical nature in the military. They knew better to do that. They want clicks. They want people to follow. They want people to get excited because people want to know. They're worried. They want something to happen. Everybody's worried. But you have to communicate to people what 11.3 is more than just Department of Defense. We've got what's called the General Records of the United States. Look that one up. And people that are listening that really want to dig. Now, I told people on my live stream, DOD 11.3 was a rabbit hole that exists. You go down a rabbit hole with a flashlight, you find out what's down there, and you get out. No, what people do is they go down the rabbit hole and they take a shovel with them, and they don't see all the answers in that rabbit hole. They start digging the dirt up and making a new rabbit hole. No, you find out what you need to find out in that rabbit hole, and then you go to the next rabbit hole because there's a lot of rabbits. And the general records of the United States has, in 11.3, has the laws of our nation from the 1800s up to 1994 or something like that. And you have 11.3 laws of war. You have 11.3 the laws of the U.S. government, and you have 11.3 in the Constitution. And I will give you an example of why that is important to understand. Nobody's going to sit there and read all the laws and know it overnight. But there are some fundamental foundational things that cannot be changed in any other way but an amendment to the Constitution. And there are certain things that are being enacted that are not in line with the Constitution, but is being accepted, but has not been codified by ratification of an amendment to the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And if you will look at one of the latest stories, we've got a certain number of citizens who are in jail and been in jail for over a year.
Yes, sir.
And Nancy Pelosi was asked to, provide what anybody being accused of something is entitled to, namely evidence, such as emails between the people who are accusing these people, discovery, and they're also refusing to hand over physical evidence, prima facie evidence, in the form of videotapes. Now, did you read what excuse she is using, why she does not have to give that information over?
I have not, and I'm afraid if you read it to me, I'm going to get upset
about it. It's 2 words called sovereign immunity. She's claiming what's called sovereign immunity. Also, you can interchange that with the other term is there's sovereign immunity and there's qualified immunity. They're basically the same suit, different bow tie. But what it basically says is that certain people can do things and don't have to worry about being charged or prosecuted. Now that construct was adopted by the courts. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know anywhere in the Constitution or any body of law that was passed that says one group of people can, say, for example, a police officer, and I saw the video of this, a veteran, a retired veteran, had $40,000 in his possession, and he was moving to another state. And he got pulled over, and you see the whole stop. You see him talking to the police. They did not suspect him of any crime. They did not charge him with any crime. They did not arrest him. He drove away from there. But one thing he did not drive away with is his money. They took his money. They still have his money. Then they turned it over to the feds because they said, this might be like some kind of federal crime. I don't know. You guys take a look at this money. You smell it, look at it, hold it, and tell me what you think. Well, what happens in that situation, if the money isn't reclaimed after a certain amount of time, the feds keep a certain percentage in the state or the office, sheriff's office or whatever that sees the money gets a cut. And in a lot of cases, it takes more money to get an attorney. How much justice can you afford, Mr. Jones? So that you could have $200 in your pocket, and a police officer right now can take your money and not charge you with anything, not accuse you of anything, and you got to go to them to get it back. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it except get a lawyer. You can't charge them. They can't be found guilty of anything because they have qualified immunity, sovereign immunity, and they have taken that construct and they've granted it to little town managers or code enforcement officers or dog catchers or anybody.
They basically protect themselves all over the place. And frankly, I think the American people and the patriots are sick and tired of two sets of rules and two sets of citizens here in this America. It's not fair for them to create laws and legislation, pass it, force it on us, but yet they get to do whatever the hell they want.
Well, I'd like to see the law that was passed for sovereign immunity because there was none. And it, like I said, it was instituted by the courts. And the example that I used in the live stream tonight was Robert Taney, Taney. He was a Supreme Court justice that came up with the Dred Scott decision, where he said that Dred Scott could never be free because he was not a man, he was a piece of property. And I described how Lincoln dismantled that. Unfortunately, it took 700,000 American lives to do it. But Taney's legacy is in the trash pail, and nobody is a piece of property. Mm-hmm. And people that go on the internet and they go on social media and they swear allegiance in their hearts to a guru, I won't mention any names, but there's some people that get tens of thousands of viewers that talk about James Brown had a secret relationship with Princess Di, and Candace Owen is the daughter. Nobody's, and so James Brown went into hiding, so did Princess Di, and then after JFK Jr. comes back, we're all going to be, so they spend their time doing that instead of, hey, your neighbor just got $5,000 taken by the for no reason, and they'll never get it back.
And we're worried if Donald Trump is married to Princess Diana and had a baby. I know what you speak of, and it's such a waste of time.
Even if it's true, if it's true, what's that got to do with the price of tea in Mongolia? If they're enacting certain policies to reduce the world's population by 90%, what the hell's any of that got to do with it?
Exactly. That's how I feel about it too.
I don't mean to get animated and to be a little strong with my words, but it really, as I said, a social media consumer, it really rubs me the wrong way. And one thing that I mentioned, now 11.4, everybody said, well, that's the next thing. Well, if you look in the DOD laws of war, 11.4, as we discussed last live stream, basically said, did you mean to do it? Menace res versus actus res. Your action, the action and your meaning. That will come into play at some point, as I mentioned before, when we have to bind the nation's wounds. There are people that are going to be treated fairly, and there are people that are going to have to pay a very high price. So yes, that is important, but also 11.4 in the Office of Government Records is U.S. treaties, all of them. Mm-hmm. You can look them up till sometime in the mid-90s. But anyway, to me, that reference was for us to consider all of that. We have more than we know. We have more than we know. And one thing, when you talk about the civil law, people don't realize it's called tort law, T-O-R-T. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a layman reading a book, and I can tell you, Abraham Lincoln changed the world when he preserved this union. And he had some candles to read by. Everybody knows that. He didn't have electricity. He rode a horse to the White House, and he had books on paper that you had to carry around and put in your lap and open up and go to a certain page or look in the contents and look things up. And he had an intellect that towered over everybody because he got nonsense out of his head. His wife, Mary Todd, if people read about their lives, their private lives, she believed in seances. She, was not a stable woman. And Lincoln had that towering intellect by sweeping all that out of his brain. And the main sources of his education was the Bible and the Constitution and the nation's laws. Those are the things he read. And that's what he cogitated on. He didn't say, gee, I wonder, get into some stuff we've been talking about. Can you imagine that? Abraham Lincoln thinking that kind of stuff. So anyway, he was there when we needed him. And DJT is very much the same. He has a way of taking a look at things, and he is like a knife through butter. He gets right to the point. He sees through all the nonsense. And that is important. When you have an enemy that is throwing confetti at you and making hoops and hollers and cacking a lot like somebody kicked the side of a chicken house and carrying on with every kind of crazy thought and accusation you can think of, if you can look through that mess and see what you need to see, what the truth is, that's how you keep yourself focused and ignore the chickens and the confetti and the hollering and hooting. And you look at what laws we have that are in line with our supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. And one of the things is that you're supposed to be secure in your papers and effects. I consider when you create content and somebody pushes a button and makes it disappear, whether it's Twitter, whether it's this platform, or wherever it is, that's nothing less than digital book burning. That is destroying someone's intellectual property. It's malicious. And in my layman's opinion, that's what's called a tort, T-O-R-T. Is when you have the time, instead of saying, hey, I wonder if Elvis is still alive, let me check that out. No, look up the definition of a tort. Look up tort law. When somebody commits a tort, that can be something like violating your civil rights. It can be something, a libelous statement is a tort. Just ask Nick Sandman. Just ask the young man from Kenosha. I won't say his name. But in that situation, you had a prosecutor in his brain, because some judge said so, was immune. Mm-hmm. He is legally in his brain and in the minds of everybody else who got a bar license. This person or this group of prosecutors could hide evidence, make fantastic allegations, could libel him as a racist, libel him as a violent person with immunity.
Mm-hmm.
They could create evidence by picking a video that they knew would cause a blip in the pixels to make him look like he moved his arms from 1,000 feet away, and put that in front of a jury without fear of being answerable or prosecuted for creating evidence, planning evidence, distorting evidence, obstructing justice, railroading somebody, libeling somebody. They could do all of that. And if they would have got away with it, they would have thought they did the right thing. That is one of the problems, the big problems we got, that's got to do with 11.3. That there's a us and a them. Like the comedian said with the beard, what was his name from the 70s, 80s?
You got me.
Oh, you'd know him, but he used to say, it's a big club and you and I ain't in it.
You mean George Carlin?
George Carlin. It's a big club and you and I ain't in it. And that's one of the ways into the club is where you get sovereign immunity, where I can walk up to you and accuse you wrongfully. And I can put you in a situation where you can lose everything you own. Because if that young man from Kenosha didn't have $1 million lawyers, you can bet that he would be incarcerated for the rest of his life. And those prosecutors would be going out and toasting themselves at dinner because he didn't have $1 million to protect himself. And when they got exposed for the criminal manner in which they pursued him, they had no fear of any repercussions. So when you get sovereign immunity, you're one of them, and the rest of us are just us.
I think the way it should be now, anybody who makes allegations against you and has no proof, I think about as fair play, and I think the person who had the allegations brought against them should be able to turn around and sue the shit out of them. To be honest with you,
Exactly.
Because I don't think it's right for people to just put stuff out there in the public eye with zero proof and just make allegation after allegation, ruin somebody's life, and then walk away with a smile on their face and not have to be held accountable for that. And I think that day's coming. I think eventually it's going to turn around, and I believe that people who do that are going to be, well, they'll be in a situation where they can't get out of it. There's going to be no way for them to talk their way out of it. And it's just like in the old days, if somebody made an allegation against you of a crime, whatever that punishment was, if they couldn't prove that you did it, and I can't remember where I remember reading this, that you're the one that had to deal with the consequences of that crime. So I think we need to get back to that type of society where if you're going to make a claim against somebody, and it's murder, and the punishment is capital punishment, then I think that should fit the person who put the allegation out there and had no proof of it. It's just defamation law is right, and the thing is there's so many loopholes out there nowadays for that crap. If you're a public figure, I guess it's just open season on your ass. You can be talked about in any form or manner that they choose, and they don't have to be held accountable for it. And I think that law needs to be changed because there's a lot of people out there that lose a lot over that because of what they put out.
It destroys lives. That young man's life would have been ruined if this was not filmed and had been not been a national in the national eye. And I can tell you, if you got an attorney, a good attorney, to sit there and watch that prosecution, their behaviors, and the evidence they put forward and the evidence they withheld, which they call Brady evidence, proof of. Now, Withholding proof of innocence, if that's not obstruction of justice, I don't know what the hell is.
Well,
So,
it's like J6. It's the same thing. There's allegations against all of those people from J6, and I have yet to see any of the proof. And why are they holding them like a political prisoner, not giving them their day in court, not giving their lawyers adequate enough time to spend with them? This is what I'm talking about. Anybody can make an allegation against somebody nowadays, and it seems like there's no accountability for the person throwing allegations out there. This needs to stop, and it needs to change. It's not acceptable in my book.
well, Lincoln didn't change Taney's ruling. He didn't change it. He threw it in the trash pail. We don't have to change these laws. They're no damn good. There's a law in place that says you can't libel somebody with impunity. There's a law in place that says you cannot lie about somebody and cause them harm. There's libel laws, and they're very powerful. And these exceptions that have been carved out, that have not been carved out and ratified by a change in the Constitution, they are worthless, except for the fact that you have corrupt people in positions of power that continue to play this macabre game. That's MACARBE, gross game of pretending like this is some kind of legal precedent that should be respected. And that's where the problem is. And that is another reason why 11.3 was mentioned. The loss of our land, not just the laws of the military, but the loss of this land. And the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void.
I agree with you. So is there anything else that you want to go into any more detail about 11.3? And we've got some people who may have just jumped on and was wondering what the reference to 11.3 is. If you want to just touch on it briefly real quick. If we're all good, I think I'll send Red the link. He wanted to come up here and drop something on stage too, but I was going to wait until you're completely done there, Mel.
Oh, I'm done. I'll answer any questions anybody's got in the chats, and I wish I could participate, but like I said, it knocks my mic out. And I welcome any criticisms or comments or questions to clarify things. I think the thing that we need to do, and I believe some things myself that might sound a little cuckoo. I won't get into it. I believe in certain things that might be considered ethereal, spiritual, whatever, however somebody wants to word it, occult. I won't say that, but I have things that I believe in, but it doesn't apply to this. That's why we write stuff down on paper. That's why we preserve it in a building with guards and glass over it and then we make copies of it and we study it because it's precious to us. And if documents that are precious to us, we just don't read them and try to comprehend them and read them in a way that doesn't just apply to us, but we apply it to how we treat others to live in a civil society. If we don't do that, but spend our time worrying about like you remember the ladies in the supermarket back in the day, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, walk around in their house robes and fuzzy slippers at the grocery store, and they grab a Globe magazine so they could read about Bat Boy. Remember that?
Oh, yes, sir.
The Inquirer magazine. You stand in line, you'd be looking at, here's a picture of Hitler. He's living.
I used to read them. I found them very entertaining. I'd sit there and read them.
They were very entertaining, but there were a lot of people took it serious, but they didn't know the laws of their own land. They didn't know how they were supposed to treat other people with a sense of American liberty and spirit that is in comports with the Constitution as a supreme law of our land. Do that, and then you can go worry about Bat Boy.
There you go. There you go. All right, we got Red. As soon as I find my cursor, there it is. Let's bring Red in real quick. How's
Howdy,
it going,
everybody.
Red?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
First, I'd like to say thank you again to my Dutch uncle, Mountain Man.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that one. That's from an earlier conversation. And I'd like to reach my arms out and hug all 183 of your beautiful red, rosy patriots in the audience. And I'd also like to say that today was a wonderful day in the United States of America. And I'm going to say this very carefully. I'm going to use, instead of saying people's names, I'm going to call them red or blue. And the red guy is who the blue people call the orange guy. So red is our team. A group of, first of all, I've got to say, if you're not watching Frank's speech every night, then you're missing out on intel, because everything is at the surface. And Mike Lindell dumped everything that God ever gave him into this into this channel, and he's putting out better intel than I ever did, and nobody's watching him. He also purchased every show from the 50s, 60s, and 70s because he's going to turn it into a network, and it'll probably be on regular TV. Because what happened today in the state of Wisconsin is that Dr. Frank, who you probably know from Mike Lindell, and a team of red attorneys who got access to a lot of phone records and are legally, electronically monitoring certain people. One guy in particular named Ryan Cho, a young man who lives in his parents' basement who had a thumbnail. Now, I am going to coin this right now in front of all of us. I have 832 witnesses that I am coining this as the Thumbnail Mafia. And I believe there are 50 members to the Thumbnail Mafia. And Dr. Frank exposed one today. And his name is Ryan Cho. And what Ryan Cho did at 3 a.m. Back a while is he put 170,000 blue balloons in the official box, which gave the blue team 20,000 balloons more than the red team. They will prove at 10 a.m. on Thursday, March 24th, to the Senate, to the Wisconsin Senate, that Ryan Cho, with the help of someone else who was employed in the state of Wisconsin, who was recently given a very high position, bureaucratic position, shortly after the election. And as Ryan Cho at 3 a.m. in the morning was actually sitting with a bunch of the Facebook team members.
Mm-hmm.
And they added those balloons to the official box. They're going to prove that systematically. They're also going to prove that there are 94,000 senior citizens in the state of Wisconsin. And 90,000 of those senior citizens either had someone blow up a balloon for them or had the balloon stolen and switched to a different color. And this was presented today in front of a huge media circle and a bunch of politicians in Wisconsin. And just moments ago, I emailed my new link because after I did the live stream, my Allison Intel channel was put in timeout for 2 weeks. So nothing's happening on Allison Intel land for 2 weeks. But you can find me on a channel that currently has just under 3,000 subscribers called Red Step Stacker. I did send Dee the link. On that channel, the first video posted is all of the evidence that's going to be presented. And then I only showed a half hour, 29 minutes of that video. It's 2 hours long. I'll have a link below to the Wisconsin senator YouTube page that has the entire 2-hour disclosure now. And he's just giving you a warm up for next week. He says that there are huge bombshells he can't even mention. Now, whether the news I'm pretty sure it's the news is going to respond in some way, but whether they do or don't, we have all of the proof that we need.
Red, I want to add to that real quick.
Justice system is.
You there, Red? Did we lose you? I want to add to that really quick. I want to add to it really quick because we have some people that reached out to us from the state of Georgia, and from what I gather, and I can't say too much, but from what I gather, similar things are happening in the state of Georgia as well. And I know we all were waiting for all this to come out, and then it got real quiet for a while, and we thought maybe they just swept it under the carpet. But I can tell you there are people in Georgia working on the very similar thing there, Red, and it seems like they're getting ready to put out certain information as well, as from what I understand.
They probably got to wait for Dr. Frank to get there next week when he's done in Wisconsin, because I got a feeling Dr. Frank's going to be in on 50 different meetings.
There you go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, people are going down. And this politician said the only way that Ryan Cho isn't going to be charged with treason is if he turns state's evidence, which means he has to narc out Zuckerberg.
When do the birds sing?
When do the birds sing?
Right about now.
They sing as soon as spring hits. And today, when I looked in my yard, the grass was getting really green and the birds were singing loud and proud.
Well, let me tell you a little something about military justice. There is no Johnny Cochran's. There is no, if it does not fit, you must acquit. There is no 2 years like Jussie Smollett. There's evidence, and then they look at you and they say, what you got to say about this? And when you're finished, they say, okay, let's look in the book here. Okay, this is what you get. Case closed. Next. That's the way it works.
And that's
so this fellow.
There's not a lot of good news in that book.
This gentleman Red's talking about, that's what he's going to hear. He's going to hear that. But they will tell him, if you're going to do things in the interests of justice, that's a very important phrase, in the interests of justice in the civil court. In military court, it would be for the good of your country. If you're willing to assist in those areas, we're going to work with you. And
these lower dudes ain't going to jail for that clown.
He's going to go to jail, but it's going to be. I don't know the extent. It's going to. Are you going to be there? Are you going to be there to you're 80 years old or 50? Well, that's when, right. Like I said, you got to slap them to shut them up instead of slap them and make them talk. And that's
Ryan is not going to protect Zuckerberg no matter what. What the outcome of that is, who knows?
Well, the thing to keep in mind, it's like the governor of Florida said about Dr. F. What did he say about the last thing he said about Dr. F? And we hadn't seen anything or heard anything from Dr. F. He's in the witness protection program. He's in the witness protection program because I can tell you what, we're dealing with some very wealthy, ancient systems. And this Mr. Cho, I'm sure that he is being protected and he's being let known, look, we'll protect you if you work with us, but if you don't want to work with us,
Zuckerberg's a pawn too. So what deal do you think Zuckerberg's going to take? Do you want to protect George or
Well,
Klaus, or you want to
let me
go
tell
for it?
you,
You want to take your chances, or are you going to turn state's evidence?
everybody,
Everyone up the
I would
chain is
say
going to
he'd
get the deal.
turn. I'd say he'd
Turns quick.
turn.
Yeah,
And I can tell you with
he's
all
a prison
certainty,
prize.
they're not gonna sweep what happened in 2020 under the rug. There's too much to sweep under the rug. It's a heaping pile, and that rug would it'd trip everybody who walked past it. So I believe what happened in 2020 will eventually come out for the world to see. I do believe that.
well, the thing is that we have to have people that are protected, um, because a lot of what judges do, that doesn't mean they're all corrupt. If they make a bad decision, they do a ruling that, that's because they might have heard something about their family or themselves, their personal safety.
You know what?
So,
I'm sorry.
well, it's a lot to keep in mind that witnesses, criminals that are going to be helpful witnesses, uh, people that are in positions to make rulings that are correct, they're all in jeopardy, and that has to be considered. But the main thing, like I said, is they'll either offer him protection and give him a carrot, some hope that, look, if you did a crime that's going to cost you a decade at least, maybe 50 years. That's the range usually, 10 to 50. Do you want 10 or you want 50? Okay, that's one tool you can use.
Now,
The other tool,
treason is death, and
well,
voter fraud is
that's
treason.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't want to say that because the rhythm
Okay, I
gets
know what you're
that.
trying to say. You're
The
trying to be
rhythm
very
gets that.
careful, like me.
But
Okay.
but we do know under military law that is, people are down on Bill Barr because of the way he's been acting. I'll tell you this: if people want signs of what's happening, Bill Barr comes out with a book where he said Donald Trump was rude, Donald Trump was mean, I knew he was going to lose, and all that stuff. Oh, Bill Barr's a TRAITYDOR. That Bill Barr's trait. Whatever. And well, let me tell you something. Do you think Bill Barr would have got on any of these TV shows, any of these news places he's been on lately, when he said some very important things that were, you have
He got all the text messages that came from
you've got this
something
core,
team.
you get this
The
core,
three.
you've got a core group of people that watch the regular cable news like CNN and MS, this core group of people that would never hear some of the things Bill Barr was saying that was helpful
That
to the
wouldn't have
red
heard
book.
unless he did what he did.
If he didn't treat Trump poorly, he would have
Right.
never got on that show.
True.
And then you watch his interviews, and you will see that he drops some kernels and seeds where he says, yes, I believe there will be arrests over the spying. He says that. And they're treating him with kid gloves because he said Trump was a meanie.
Now, here's the biggest problem. Not the biggest problem, but the most depressing part about the story is that there's a lot of people that chose a blue balloon that are going to be disappointed, not because they cheated, but because they got caught cheating in a relationship.
Yeah.
But I do want to add that in what's going on in Wisconsin, one of the key players that the senator mentions is a guy that I used to teach Sunday school with for about 5 years, Tall Paul the Apostle. When they said his name, I knew exactly it was him. He lives about 2 miles from the border, and he was out of work. He's a scientist, and he was from Wisconsin. So I know I'm sure that he sold his house and went back. And as a matter of fact, he was losing his house the last time I saw him. So there's no Tall Paul the Apostles. There's not like there's two of them within 200 miles of Warwolf, Wisconsin. So I'm going to try and talk to Paul. I'm sure it's going to have to be after March 24th, but on the new Redheaded Step Stacker channel that already has 2,900 subscribers, and hopefully D has the link. You guys can see the video of all the evidence laid on the table tonight.
There you go. Well,
the
the other thing I'm going to try to do is I got to talk to the connection that I have, and I want to try to get one of them to come on from Georgia. And I believe they were reaching out to us and they were wanting to come on. So, Red, I'm gonna try to put somebody from Georgia on here too that can talk a little bit more about this. I might actually have to kick it over to Podbean if they have too much to say. I won't be able to put it here on YouTube, but I can sure in hell put it over there on Podbean for the time being. So we might have to do that here real soon, especially within the next week, 2 weeks. When I talked to them last, they said about a week to 2 weeks out. And that was before you brought this to my attention, Red. So maybe that's why they were telling us a week to 2 weeks out. Maybe they were waiting for some of this stuff to kind of unfold.
That's why Essential One keeps saying March Madness. This is March, and it's going to be the madness. She wasn't talking about the basketball thing.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't subscribed to Podbean, I'm telling you, you guys are gonna want to subscribe to Podbean, because any of this stuff that Mountain Man read and any of the stuff that we're talking about, if I can't put it on YouTube, I'll pop it over to Podbean, because we have a little more freedom over there for time being.
You only get 10% of the stake here on YouTube. The other 90% of the stake is on Liberty Warrior Podcast. There's 3 Liberty Warriors when you look it up on the Podbean app. He's Liberty Warrior Network Podcast, correct?
It's LWN Podcast.
That's what it is.
Just
LWN
the initials.
Podcast.
LWN Podcast.
The word podcast is on there. All the other LWNs don't have the word podcast, and they're not there. But dude, I gotta pee, and you know how that goes if I don't do it.
Oh,
so
boy.
Peace and love.
You better
worldwide.
get out of here. Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here.
Well, Mike, I just want to say I don't want to leave Bill Barr hanging in the wind. If I can just say something very quickly.
Go for it.
If you look at Bill Barr's interviews and read between the lines, it's a very sophisticated information tug of war. And in Bill Barr's defense, he is the one that had lifted the moratorium on federal executions, and which had been in place for decades. He also swept away all the limitations on the methods. It's back to basically a military situation, which is, using a rope and using a rifle. I won't say exactly what it is, but those are all reinstituted and have been reinstituted since 2018. And Bill Barr did that. And that's another reason these people are desperate, because if that's not a signal that things are going to happen and people are going to pay a price commiserate with what they've done, nothing is. So Bill Barr and Jeff Sessions, if anybody's, Jeff Sessions appointed John Durham, and he's a special prosecutor, and they cannot remove him. And he will work with other nations as far as a treaty in 1999 of mutual assistance to catch international criminals. And if you will notice today also, it was announced that Putin sanctioned and seized the assets and will seize any further assets of Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, and the fellow at the Pentagon, what's his name? Lloyd Austin, who was talking in 2014 or 15 about having $12 million he needed to unload, and he would give somebody 10% if they helped him. As I said in the past, foreign aid there's no receipts, there's no proof, there's nothing. Once it crosses that country's border, $1 billion, they don't have to tell how many blankets they bought or how many meals or how many equipment or nothing. it's $1 billion that gets handed out politically, and there's kickbacks. And Pencil Neck Adam, he got about 7 million. Lloyd Austin had about 12. He had to split up with other generals. And that's all going to come out. And like I said, Bill Barr lifting those restrictions and changing the methods of EXEC dispensing justice. It's not just injection anymore where you go to sleep. No, it's the regular way, the military way, with a rope, a gun, a chair with a little charge to it, and those things are back on the menu.
Well, Carol Z says, Mike, you better take this video down after the show. It's possible. For those of you who haven't been through this cycle at LWN a couple of times, when we get taken down, I do have multiple channels. You guys can find them on the YouTube page and subscribe to all of them. If I get taken down off of this channel, I'll probably hop over to the big channel, which is channel 2. That one has been finally cleared of all the strikes that we had against channel 2. So that's where I'll be headed next. If you guys haven't subscribed to channel 2, I would encourage you to do so. Cause you're right, Carol Z. They very well could, they could take any of my videos down. I've been taken down for some of the most ridiculous stuff. And I talked to Hawk yesterday. He got taken down and he fought it. He did fight it. It was for misinformation, and there wasn't even any misinformation, and it still didn't matter. So I don't even waste my time trying to fight these guys. What I do, this is my game plan. Strike 1, I go to the next channel. I come back. Strike 2, I just go to the next channel. I don't even go with strike 3. So
yeah, and then after so many days, they go away, right?
Yeah, 90 days, and then you're cleared of all the strikes. So I got struck on channel 2 back in November, and it finally cleared all the strikes. So we're good to go on channel 2 again. That's the big channel, but this one's growing just fine.
The things I've discussed are factual legal matters that any layperson can read for themselves. Actual actions taken by the Justice Department concerning federal punishment. That's all. It's not a flight of fancy or a made up dream. It's what actually happened and is in the Federal Register. It's in the code books. It's in the military code books. So that's all I'm talking about. I can't think of anything I discussed that wasn't, except for what was public knowledge. So,
absolutely. How about we do this? I'll drop the link. We'll take 2 callers real quick, and then we'll wrap the night up. So anybody who wants to call in and make a comment, ask a question to Mountain Man, there's the link.
yeah, sounds
as quick
good.
as you can.
Yeah, let me hear from somebody. I want to talk to somebody. It'd be fun to talk to somebody about everything that concerns us. We're all Americans.
Absolutely.
And clarity reduces fear. If you know thine enemy, you are much better. And if you're look up the armor of God and make sure you got every scrap of it.
Amen.
The belt buckle, the shield, the sword, everything. The shin braces.
Right here, Mountain Man. It's right here.
Who we got on? Oh, you got it?
I got it. I got it right here. Sits right next to my computer. This was sent to me by my producer and her husband. I've had it for quite a while, so it stays right next to me.
You'll be ready when the day of evil comes.
Absolutely.
And the day of evil is here. And I tell people, if you're trying to talk to a friend And the reason I am so animated and sounds like I'm harsh when I talk about people that talk about the equivalent to Bat Boy, um, we have got to get our neighbors on board, and we have to talk about things that don't seem out there, that they can see with their own eyes, and they know something's wrong, and you can tell them why. And that's why I said to listen to Kennedy's speech, watch the Zapruder film, and then read those guidestones. Those three things. That's a start so people know what we're up against. And then the last thing I say, if you believe in God, to a neighbor, I'll say, do you believe in God? They say, yeah. Well, you believe in the devil then, don't you? Well, of course. Well, he's walking the earth and he can't stand you. Okay. And he has power and he uses it. So don't think that things are happening that aren't inspired by him. And if you think he's not working, you don't think he's on the earth right now, if you don't think he's at work, then you got rocks in your head.
Well, we don't want to have rocks in our head, that's for sure. Well, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and just pray us out. I didn't have anybody call in, so Mountain Man, I'm going to roll into final thoughts, sir, and then I'm going to pray us out and get out of here and get my kid off to bed. So,
okay.
I'll leave it up to you, brother. Go ahead.
What's that?
Your final thought.
Oh, my final thoughts is that I would hope that people will settle down. This 11.3 is a very good example of how people can go in a rabbit hole and dig it deeper, and they don't come out and see the light. They don't see other places they need to go. And when they talk to their neighbors, keep it real. That's it.
Sounds good. Here's my final thought. My final thought is putting your head in the sand doesn't do you any good. So sometimes you do have to do a little bit of work and do a little bit of digging and research to try to find what's out there for information. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet like that tonight. And we just appreciate everybody showing up tonight. Mountain Man, of course, thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure. And to everybody who showed up tonight to join us, it was a great evening. We had a lot of fun, and thank you to Red who showed up as well. So I hope he didn't pee his pants.
Again.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just close this out in prayer, and we're going to get out of here for the evening so I can get my son taken care of. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for such a wonderful evening with friends, Lord. Thank you for blessing us with Mountain Man's time and for Red to hop up here and give us information as well, Lord. We just pray that what is on the horizon as far as these states of Wisconsin and Georgia to just bust loose with that information, Lord, to turn this country around. And we pray all these things in your son's precious name. Amen and amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, we thank you for being here, Mountain Man. And you know what? We'll see you on the next one.
Okay. You all have a great evening. Thank you very much for putting up with me. And I'll be talking to everybody soon.
All right. Sounds good. All right, folks.
Okay.
Check us out, libertywarriornation.com. We have our store there. There's information there. There's links to Miles Franklin. There's links to Affidavit Mamas. So you can check out the website, libertywarriornation.com. And we will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube for Daily Devotions with LW. And tomorrow night, folks, you got to come out and support the ladies. Ladies of Liberty, Tammy the Hammer Nation. Mary Kay, I'm not sure if she's going to be here tomorrow. She's a little bit under the weather. We've been praying for her, but I can't guarantee she will be here tomorrow evening. But Tammy will be here. I'm pretty sure Scad will be here. And I think Tammy's working on a guest as well. So you guys, thank you so much for all your time. We'll see you back here tomorrow evening. Love y'all. God bless.
hoping for a sincere performance, but open to finding the moment, to finding out where I'm headed now. Looking for a sign of disaster, so I can make it there faster. I'm weighing the consequences out.